Hi there, we are back. It's Monday. Jerry Usher, Debbie Georgianni. Take two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. We had a best of show on Saturday, so we're actually on 6 days a week, but it's live Monday through Friday at this time, noon Eastern, and also midnight Eastern time, and encore on many of these affiliates. And we, as always, thank the affiliates for carrying the program, EWTN, the show team, Rich, Matt, Jeff, everybody else behind the scenes. And you, our listeners, you are always the ones who drive the program. You make it what it is with your phone calls and your takes. And Debbie, today I'm really, I'm looking forward with a smile on my face. I'm looking forward to hearing the experiences that our listeners share about our topic today.
Yeah, I think this today is going to be an interesting one, Jerry, because we're asking the question, what unbelievable experience did you almost miss? Now, think about this for a moment. You're invited to a wedding, a birthday party, a school play, even just a get-together, maybe like a wine and cheese party or something like that. And you're invited and you accept graciously because it's the right thing to do. But you're thinking to yourself, I don't really want to go. I don't know. It might be boring. I don't know. It's a waste of my time. I've got better things to do. But you do the right thing and you go. And all of a sudden, something miraculous happens. You have an experience there that as you're walking away and you leave the encounter, you go to your car and you're driving away and you're saying to yourself, wow, what an unbelievable experience. I wouldn't have missed that for the world. Has that ever happened to you? We want to ask you that question. It's really an interesting one. And I thought about it in depth, Jerry. And there's been many times I've had to kind of drag myself out the door to go to an engagement that I had committed to. But I had that exact feeling. I was at an encounter that I had, or a person that I met, or an experience, or something that was shared during the evening. I was thinking to myself, wow, this is a little slice of heaven. This is an encounter, with Christ. And it's very interesting. So we want to hear from you. Remember, you lead the show. You drive the show. So here's the number. Call in 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, without you, I mean, Debbie and I've got several I could share. In fact, I hope to get into a couple of them here before too long. But you don't want to sit and listen to me and Debbie share our beautiful, awesome experiences that we almost missed. We want to hear what yours were. And again, getting down to kind of the core spiritual nugget here, really, Debbie pointed it out already. It's virtue, it's character. We commit to something or are committed to something, maybe by our spouse or something. It's the right thing to do. It's just the virtuous character thing to do. Even if you get to that point, like Debbie, sometimes I'll put things on my calendar, phone calls to somebody or meetings I have to attend, months down the road. And then that dreaded reminder pops up on the computer that morning about 3 hours before. And I say, oh my goodness, is that today? It's like,
it better not be with a phone call with me.
No, never. And it's never the show. Never doing the show, okay. I can promise. Actually, you know what? I am going to just confess, Debbie,
no,
that there are times I love doing this show, but as every single one of us, we're human, and we have those days where we get up and we're distracted and we're burdened, and I have come to the microphone on this show. Sometimes it's not that I didn't want to be here, but just sort of like, oh my gosh, I just got to get through this today.
You've had
and those are some of the most amazing shows, Debbie. You and I come away going, my goodness. So, dear friends, I think the key to the conversation here is, what kind of surprises have you experienced by following through on commitments that you made when maybe you didn't want to, or you had other opportunities or things came up, your schedule was just jam-packed that day, but you said, I made this commitment, so I'm going to go through with it. And God has come through and honored that by showering you with some really neat blessing. Maybe you've made a new friend, deepened a relationship. Maybe you met your spouse at something like this, or developed a new appreciation of culture, like someone invited you to go to the symphony or something, and you're like, well, that doesn't sound all that exciting, but I told them I'd go. And then you get there and you go, this was beautiful. And all of a sudden
amazing.
Your life has changed. So, 1-800-585-9396 is the number for you to join us.
Okay, we can add a little twist to this. How about if you've ever had your spouse, you've asked your spouse to come with you to an event or something, and they don't want to be there, and they use the term, do I have to go? Instead of I get to go, do I have to go? And you find yourself kind of elbowing them, saying, change your attitude. Just, stop that. Try to it. Try to enjoy yourself. And then you get done with the event and they say to you, that was pretty fun. The food was great. I met some nice people. And you say, see? It's all about how your outlook is, your attitude, the way you walk into something, and that's very true, Jerry, in anything. You and I both know this because we do Catholic life skills. When you have the proper disposition, when you're going into something with the proper attitude, if you will, when you're going into it with a positive, frame of mind, really good things can happen. But if you started off with a lot of negativity inside, and your internal voice is saying this is going to be boring, this is a waste of time, well, then maybe it is going to be. So it's very interesting how we conduct ourselves when we're entering into these situations. So this is a fascinating discussion. We always weave it into our spirituality. Hopefully by the end of this hour, we walk away a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God. But we need your help. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to call.
And before we get to the phone calls, I have one that I'm going to share real quickly, Debbie, here. If you do as well, that'd be great. I have a couple that came to mind as I was praying about the show today. One I've actually shared on the show, so I'll save that one for a little bit later. It was my grade school wrestling experience. But actually, when I was a junior in high school, one of my best friends, there were three of us. Three of us were just inseparable friends, and so we'd do anything for each other. So he had a role in the high school play, and something else came up, and he actually had to pull out of that, and he told the drama teacher, "Oh, Jerry will do it." And,
no.
and so he comes to me, or she came to me and said, "Yeah, well, we got you signed up now for doing, Dave said you would do this." And I thought, no way, are you kidding me? And I thought, well, I've got to do this for Dave. He's my buddy. He's my best friend. And yet I was really not looking forward to it. I didn't think I had, acting in me, and, would I be confident enough to do it? Could I learn the lines? It wasn't a really big part, but I went ahead and I went through with it, and I loved it. And my senior year, the next year, I tried out for the male lead and got that. So this helped me professionally and personally in so many ways. Even though it was a commitment, it was something that going into it I was hesitant and actually almost somewhat resistant, Debbie. But it was life-changing for me. So that's kind of an example of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, Jerry, because what that did was that took you out of your comfort zone at a very young age, but it allowed you to have that ability to be in front of an audience. And look at you now, many years later, you have no problem being on a worldwide with behind a microphone, but even on stage, you don't have a problem getting in front of an audience. And that's interesting because it built that at a young age, but you were forced into it. So that's very interesting that happened to you. I'm glad you said yes.
So am I.
Oh. Did your buddy Dave, was he indebted to you for life?
Well, yeah, I ribbed him about it a little bit, but he saw that the fact that I took to it and then tried out and got the male lead the next year, he realized, that it was something that I loved. And I still remember the plays. We did Arsenic and Old Lace and Don't Drink the Water. They were fun.
Don't Drink the Water. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one you got the lead for?
I don't remember which one was which. Yeah.
Okay, I won't test your memory. Okay, I've got a little one here, but while I'm sharing my experience, we need to hear from you. So please, if you're prompted by the Spirit, we'd like to hear about an encounter that you had where you said to yourself after you left that situation, you said, "I wouldn't have missed that for the world." But prior to that, you were hesitant to go. You didn't want to go. You had to kind of maybe force yourself to go, and it turned out to be an extraordinary experience. 1-800-585-9396. This is what always happens to me, Jerry. The situations that I find myself kind of, I guess forcing myself to go or just, I want to be my word. So I honor my commitment and I tend to be very spiritual encounters. It's always happened to me. I always walk away, usually in the parking lot, walking to my car, and I'll look up to God and I'll say, "Okay, you did it again. You wanted me to go to this for a certain reason." And it always turns out either somebody shares something very deep and personal about their faith journey, or it's always a conversation that is turned to God. And I find myself I find myself growing, and hopefully the people that I've encountered, they felt the same way. So it always turns out to be that way. So now it's interesting. When I find myself hesitant to attend something, I always pray first and I say, okay, Lord, if you want me to attend, there's obviously a reason. And sure enough, there almost always is. It's very interesting with me. But if you've been around me long enough, you know that it's very hard for me to small talk. So I always tend to get to a person's spirituality very quickly. You know that, Jerry. We do that very often when we go to restaurants, when we're traveling. You always say to me, how do you get so deep with the wait staff? Well, it's just, I like the saying, you only know a person as much as they know God. So I'm very curious at their relationship with God. So yeah, I know that the little chuckle there, Jerry. I know that sometimes that fascinates you.
Well, there you go. Debbie and I have shared an experience of what we're talking about today. How have you come away changed, different, better, surprised by God, blessed in some way? By keeping a commitment, honoring a commitment that you made. Do somebody a favor, make that phone call, visit somebody, attend an event when maybe you just, weren't really feeling all into it at the time, but it really was a beautiful experience. Let us hear from you.
Bishop Robert Barron.
Just as Fulton Sheen used radio and TV in the last century, we need to continue to use Catholic radio to announce the Catholic faith in the public forum.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Renew your faith, renew your spirit, and receive the most precious gift of time with our Lord. Stand Tall, an unforgettable retreat, is coming to the St. Bernard Abbey in Cullman, Alabama, February 9th through 11th. Join Take Two's own Jerry Usher and Debbie Georgiani for a spirit-filled weekend, including a visit to the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament, Mass with the Benedictine monks, an evening campfire celebration, and talks by Jerry and Debbie. Space is limited, so register today at jerryanddebbie.com.
On fire for EWTN? Get Amazon Fire TV. All you need is a high-speed internet connection, a TV, and the Amazon Fire TV player. Never miss any of your favorite EWTN television or radio programs again.
60 on 10 with Monsignor Charles Pope.
The sixth commandment, you shall not commit adultery. This commandment is wide-ranging in its implications. It forbids us not only from committing the very act of adultery, but also other sexual sins such as fornication or premarital sex, watching pornography, and speaking lewdly. Likewise, homosexual acts and acts of masturbation are also forbidden us. And the Lord himself even enjoins us to a purity of mind that we should not freely entertain lustful thoughts. And so it's wide-ranging, it's challenging, but it's in service of the great sacredness of human life which comes from sexual activity. So we thank God for this great gift of sexuality, and we ask for his grace to live it with great reverence. The sixth commandment, you shall not commit adultery.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. And we're going to get to your calls right now. And we have a line actually still open. If you want to join us, you will get on the program and share your take, your experience about just how you were changed in some way by fulfilling a commitment, honoring a commitment that maybe it's not so much a negative thing like oh man, I don't want to go to this. I just hate the thought of it. It doesn't have to be that. It could be that all of a sudden other things filled your calendar that day, or other opportunities came up, or you didn't feel you had the energy or whatever. But you said, you know what, I made this commitment. I think it's important to have this conversation, Debbie, for a couple of reasons. One, commitment is sometimes so very lacking in our culture today. We see people have a hard time making and keeping commitments. But I also want to point out, too, that, what we're talking about here, finding, great blessings and surprises when we do this sometimes, it's not always going to be the case. We don't have a gumball God. We don't honor and fulfill our commitments thinking, okay, I'm putting a quarter in the gumball machine here and God's going to, give me the little prize or the toy or whatever. Sometimes, it doesn't always necessarily happen, but we want to hear about those times when it has happened, because we never know going into these commitments that we make and then ultimately fulfill how those things are going to go. So that's when we're having this conversation.
This is a great one. So if you want to jump in on it, there is an open phone line, 1-800-585-9396. So let's go to the phones and hear what our listeners have to say about this. Mary in Pensacola, Florida, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Mary. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, Mary.
Good,
How are
Mary.
you?
I'm good. I wanted to tell you that I signed up for my first retreat weekend. It was Christ Renews His Parish, and I was so afraid I did not want to go. But I told myself, even when I signed up, well, just because you sign up doesn't mean you have to go. And I ended up going and sitting in the parking lot sitting in my car thinking I should leave and just go back home. But this wonderful lady knocked on my window and said, "Are you here for the retreat weekend?" And I said, "Yes." And she asked me my name, and I told her Mary, and she said, "Oh, my goodness, I have been praying for you all this time," because they drew names, and she had picked my name. And that weekend really changed my life. So
Wow.
it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It literally was my true conversion back to the Catholic faith. So.
Wow. You see, Mary, that is a bullseye. I mean, you just hit a bullseye on the topic for today. And I just really love I love the fact that you said you drove over there, you got to the parking lot, and you were still considering putting the car in reverse and heading back out of there.
Right.
But God wanted you there. See, God wanted you there, and He brought that lady up to you, and the fact that she'd been praying for you, and God brought her right to your car door window. I mean, are you kidding me? You know, I can't imagine, you know, and obviously you didn't leave. Yeah, you didn't leave at that point, but I can hardly imagine you even thinking about leaving at that point. You probably just thought, okay, this is really,
Yeah.
What do you think, Debbie? Go ahead.
Well, Mary, I mean, like Jerry said, the chances of that she picked your name, she knew you. I mean, there's no accident to that. I mean, my goodness.
No.
I mean, you talk about God manifesting Himself in a situation through people. Well, that was it. I mean, and Christ Renews His Parish is a fabulous, fabulous retreat. I attended it. My husband did as well. It's transforming, and it's just. Can you share a little bit about what it did in your life? Because maybe it'll encourage others to sign up for they call them chirp retreats. Christ Renews His Parish. Can you maybe share a little bit without we don't want to go too deep unless you don't feel comfortable, but a little bit that you can share with our listeners?
Yes, I can share exactly. I'm post-abortive, and at that time, I did not feel worthy to even step foot in a church, but I was trying, and I even had been to confession, but could not forgive myself. And a lady got up and gave her testimony on her life, and her life was so familiar to me. She was also post-abortive, and I thought, how wonderful she is, how brave and courageous. And I thought, if I can forgive her and think that she's so wonderful, she's been through similar things that I have, then God could forgive me. And I went to confession again that night. I had confessed my abortion several times, but didn't feel like I was worthy to be forgiven. But I went to confession that night and confessed that I did not trust in God's mercy and knew that I was forgiven.
Wow.
And now I do. I speak out with Silent No More. I'm in the 40 Days for Life, and I'm very active in my town with that. So it just changed my life, and that was my true conversion back to the Catholic Church.
You know what, Mary? It changed your life drastically, but it is going to result in the change of so many other lives, because you are going to encounter other women who are currently where you were, at that place of unself-forgiveness, if I can put it that way. I don't know if that's a compound word or not, but unable to forgive. We all do things that we're unable to forgive ourselves for. And for you to come to that place at that retreat when you literally almost did not go, I mean, this takes the cake, Mary. But again, this is going to ripple out from you into the lives and hearts of so many other women. And that's the beautiful thing about this, Debbie, how when we allow God's healing into our lives, for no matter what it is that we've done, He will take us and use us to work the same miracles in other people's lives.
Yeah, and Mary, the fact that God wanted you there so badly. I mean, He led you there, even with the resistance you had in the parking lot, and then bringing that other soul to encounter you, knocking on your window. I mean, this is now the beginning of your spiritual life now, and your deepening relationship with God. It all starts now because you've freed yourself and forgiven yourself because God has forgiven. And so you're in a beautiful place and you're speaking out, and I love that. So more power to you, because if you, like Jerry said, it's going to have a huge effect on others for all of eternity, Mary.
Thank you. Well, it's all by the grace of God. I give Him all the praise and glory. So,
yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Mary, thank you for having the care and the courage to share what you did here on the program today. We appreciate that. And you will absolutely be in our prayers that God will bring people for you to knock on their car window, just like that lady did for you. So may you have many, many car windows to knock on, Mary. God bless you. 1-800-585-9396. So there you go, folks. Beautiful example of what we're talking about today. We sign up for things. We commit to things. We promise we're going to do things. We may get cold feet. We may hesitate. It may be out of fear. It may be just out of other things come up and crowd our schedule. But we go ahead and we do those things and look at what kind of blessings have come out of something that you honored a commitment in. 1-800-585-9396.
Jerry, I just also wanted to say, too, as Catholic Christians, we're called to walk the walk and talk the talk. And so we need to be our word. So when you were saying earlier about so many times in the world, people don't honor commitments, we as Catholic Christians are held to a higher standard, and we really should make the effort. If we say we're going to do something, we really should make the effort to do it. So, look, like what you just said, look at what can come out of it. And that's the beautiful thing of it. And that we always say is so God. That's how God works. So Maria, you're up next in North Augusta, South Carolina, listening on St. Paul Radio. Hi, Maria. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, hello. Thanks for taking my call. My experience, I have had many experiences that really have changed my life, but I was thinking about this particular one. It was probably 13 years ago or so with one of my sons, and I wanted him to go to an experience of the youth conference, the diocesan conference rally, or the diocesan youth rally, but at that time he was so complaining about, Mom, do I have to? It was so much easier for me to have thought, oh, forget it. This is too much trouble. Because he was on top of that about an hour away, and I had to drive him, the whole thing. But I kept insisting. I prayed for strength, and he went, Mom, all the way through to the conference. And we got there, and I'm glad I did. I went through all the trouble. He came out at the end and he said, Mom, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm so glad I came. Thank you for pushing me to come here. And I was so grateful to the Lord that I just didn't say, okay, forget it. This is too much to work with him. So sometimes, and I kept thinking, well, I know with the children, I have 3. They're all grown and gone, but I'm so glad that I did push it, and I trusted, and I didn't budge back down. So, because if not, he wouldn't have had that experience. So I think it's, I was glad and grateful to God for it.
Maria?
That's, one of the experiences I wanted to bring to the program.
Maria, real quickly. Okay. Real quickly, Maria, you're about your son. Real quickly, I just want to comment real quickly about your son. You're not alone. I led retreats for many, many years for junior high and high school and in young adults. And I can't even begin to tell you how many parents would call us 2 days before the retreat and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm going to have to tie my child down and drag them in the car to get them to go to the retreat. And we said, please just get them to go to the retreat. Because one of the first sessions we do with the teens is that we have them raise their hand. You know, how many did not want to come on this retreat? How many are coming on this retreat kicking and screaming? And then we get them to kind of shift their attitude a bit, and they change rapidly. And so you're not alone. Believe me. I mean, I used to get so many phone calls and parents would say, listen, Deb, I really like you, but this is not going to work. My child hates me for forcing me on the retreat. I said, please trust me. And it almost always the teens walked away saying that was a great experience. So thank you, Maria, for forcing your son to attend a diocesan retreat. Okay, real quickly, are we going to go to the break, Jerry?
Yeah, hold on, Maria. I think you had something else you were going to add, so we will get that from you in just a moment. And then we have Kathy in Cleveland and Barbara in Cleveland and Patricia in Jefferson City, Tennessee. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. What commitment have you fulfilled and found a really wonderful blessing as a result of that? Give us a call and share
it. This is Cy Kellett. Join me for Catholic Answers Live. It's 2 hours dedicated to Catholic apologetics and evangelization. Designed for Catholics and non-Catholics alike, it's your opportunity to hear from and talk with some of the leading apologists and theologians in the church today. You've got questions? We've got Catholic Answers. Catholic Answers Live, weekdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
This is Life Issues with Brad Mattis, president of Life Issues Institute.
The average age of a human trafficking victim is only 15. This criminal network has grown to epidemic levels. Last year, during just one operation, the FBI rescued 84 underage victims, including an infant. Another was a woman with a master's degree. Traffickers took advantage of her drug use by supplying illegal addictive drugs in return for services rendered. Not only are the victims of both sexes all around us, so are those who utilize the so-called services offered. They're professionals and blue-collar workers, attorneys, politicians, truck drivers, and yes, even pastors. They may be your neighbors or co-workers. Learn more about human trafficking by listening to my half-hour radio special, Victims in the Shadows. Check with this radio station regarding airing.
Follow us on Twitter at Life Issues USA and stay informed, more informed than you've ever been.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
Others that I would say definitely made an impact now is EWTN, and I go and walk at the park every day at lunch listening to you guys and being able to learn a lot more about the faith, learn a lot of other perspectives that I may have not have thought about. So I just want to thank y'all for being a big influence.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Thanks for being with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking to Maria in South Carolina. And Maria, so sorry about that. Those breaks sneak up on us and we get so deep into the discussions and they're so much fun. We forget about the breaks. But Maria, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being a great mom and forcing your son to go, because especially when it's a retreat where they can be with other teens and grow in their faith. I mean, it's so important. So thank you for that. And we wanted to hear your response, and then you had something else to share as well.
Yes, and it was because you did mention, and we're talking about, the church. We are a universal church, and it was years ago we were looking for a place to worship. We had moved to this new place, and we did go to different churches, Catholic churches around the area. But we came to this one, and they had we couldn't find, and they had invited us, a couple of friends, several times. Or not friends yet, because we had just met them. But anyways, it was further away. It was about 25 minutes away. And we went the first time. We couldn't find it. It was kind of covered with a lot of trees and everything. We didn't know the area very well. We went a second time, And we finally found it, and it was Mass had just started. We sneaked in, and we sat there. At the end of Mass, everybody left, but this particular couple next to us turned to us and looked at us and said, "You're new here, right?" And we said, "Yes." And they started talking. They were so welcoming. They invited us to be there, to go there. And when we finished and we left, I told my husband, this is where I want to come and worship. We have been welcomed so warmly, it feels like home. And that's how it should be. And since then, even though it was the farthest away church, the parish, and our sons and children always complain, "Oh, why do we go to the farthest one so far? We have one 3 miles from home." I said, because that one we were welcome as a family, and we wanted to go worship. For 16 years, we were serving and very much involved in everything, going there for the religious education for the children, for helping with all the ministries. So it's so important. It really changed our lives because we were new in town. So I think that's very important, that we need to keep that tradition of welcoming people home.
Yeah, Maria, that's really two experiences now that you've shared of, if I can put it this way, pun intended, going the extra mile. You did that for your son, obviously, and it was life-changing for him, and I'm sure that had some broader impact within your family as well. But then God wasn't done. God wanted to also really give a great blessing to your family. So you went a little bit further, you went the extra mile, but you felt that welcoming and that sense of belonging in that parish. You said you got involved in ministries and so forth. So, see, Debbie, this just shows us, God, if we take one step for him, it's just like he's going to take us the next mile, it seems like, with graces and blessings. And Maria and her family are certainly proof of that.
Absolutely. Maria, this was a great call, and I think you're going to help a lot of other families, especially when you talked about the retreats with your son and then even being welcoming in parishes. We need more of that. That's why it's very important that we, after Mass, when we congregate maybe in the parking lot or in the vestibule area or something of that nature, that we do greet one another and know that we are all the body of Christ. We're brothers and sisters in Christ. So, Maria, you have so much to share, and I have to just tell you real quickly, Jerry, as Maria was talking, I was reminiscing. I was going down memory lane, and I remember with this one gal who she signed up for a teen retreat, and her mother told me that she was threatening to run away if she was forced to go on this retreat. So the mother called me and she said, "What should I do?" I said, "Force her to go on the retreat." I said, "Don't worry, she won't run away." And afterwards, at the end of she didn't know that I knew, and I asked her mother if I had permission to say it. But at the end of the retreat, I said to her, "So you still want to run away?" She goes, "Oh no, never. I would never run away." And it was just, it's hilarious how sometimes our teens, they do resist. But once they are in the presence, especially when you're doing things like adoration and confession and Mass, and you're growing in your spirituality, I mean, it's amazing how the soul just blossoms, and they're changed. They're forever changed. So again, kudos to Maria being a great mom, and I just love her story. I think it really helped this discussion today, Jerry.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. 1-800-585-9396. Time to get you on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, talking about commitments, things that we commit to doing, say that we're going to do, maybe sometimes have to do, may not enter into them wholeheartedly or with some hesitation or whatever, but they end up being perhaps life-changing. There are blessings involved. What kind of great, awesome experience did you almost miss, but you experienced it because you were true to that commitment? Share yours with us, like Kathy is going to do next in Cleveland. The first of our two Cleveland callers. Barbara is next. Hi, Kathy. Welcome. Listening on The Rock in Cleveland to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Jerry and Debbie?
Fine. Thank you.
Great. Okay. I back in 1983, my husband and I were married in 1981, and we prayed real hard because I had a extremely bad case of endometriosis, and I was being treated by a doctor, and he gave me a year to get pregnant. He wasn't sure, he didn't really think I'd be able to because I'd had it for so long before it was diagnosed. and all, but we did novenas. A priest at our parish, gave us novenas to do and all, and we had a little girl. I prayed so hard to the Blessed Mother, so my first little girl was named Maria. So in 1983, she was born in 1982. In 1983, we had an opportunity to go with the Blue Army of Our Lady of Fatima to Fatima, and also to Rome. And we went with a group of some Benedictine monks. And at that time, I don't know, Debbie, you were in Cleveland not too long ago. I don't know if you met our auxiliary Bishop Roger Grease, but he was the abbot at that time. So we had tickets. We first went to Rome, and we had tickets for the general audience on a Wednesday morning. And this was the week of Labor Day, early September. And it was very, very warm. We had to get there early in the morning. And they had an unexpected crowd of 85,000 people showed up that morning for the general audience, just kind of out of nowhere. And going through the barricades, there was a lot of pushing and shoving going on. And I was pregnant, again, at that time. And I got very lightheaded, and people were pushing and shoving behind me and all, and I ended up passing out. And I was taken to a first aid station where a doctor was there, and then some nuns who were also nurses, and they checked me out, and they could hear the baby's heartbeat and all, and said that once I felt better, okay, everything was okay. But this nun walked with us, took us out at the first aid station, and she kept saying, "See Papa, and we're like, yes, we came to see the Pope. We have to find our group. But she didn't speak English, and we didn't speak Italian or whatever language, but she kept going, no, she just kept, like, waving her hand, like, follow me, follow me. So we went all the way around to the other side of the square, and she got us a couple seats there, and she said, sit, see Papa. So at the end of the audience, we see that Pope John Paul II starts coming over to our area, and my husband and I just look at each other and we're like, no, he's not coming over here. No. He certainly did. It was an area where they had handicapped people, a lot of elderly and all, and he made his way around through the rows. I have to forget how many rows of us were there. And he got to me, and he did the sign of the cross in front of me, and he started to head to my husband. And I worked up the courage. I was just in such amazement and awe at that this was happening. And I just said, Holy Father, will you bless my baby, please? And he turned back to me and looked at me directly, and he goes, You having a baby? And I said, yes, I'm 3 months pregnant right now. And he came over, and he goes, oh, certainly. And he asked us where we were from, and we had a little conversation with him. But then he took my face in his hands and made the sign of the cross on my forehead, and then made the sign of the cross over my abdomen for the baby. And he says, you'll have a healthy baby. And he says, God bless you, and God bless your child.
Oh, my goodness.
And then he went on and blessed my husband, shook his hand, and continued. And we were just like, the Holy Spirit hit me. I had become I was a convert to Catholicism shortly before my husband and I got married in 1981. And I felt comfortable in the church. I knew that's where I belonged. But when he blessed me, that's when I really felt the Holy Spirit enter into me, and my faith and love of God and the Catholic Church just has grown and grown and grown. So we had a baby girl again, and we named her Carol for his given
Carol
name.
Wativa, yeah.
And we sent a picture. I'm like, this might be stupid, but I'm going to send a picture in a letter. We sent it to the Vatican. And a couple months later, we got back a medal on a necklace chain with his head emblazoned, carved into it. It's all gold. And with letter
back from the secretary saying that the Pope had blessed it, and this was to bless the baby, and he thanked us for naming her in his honor, and she has that as a keepsake.
Wow.
And then we went to Fatima, and I had brought a picture of my first daughter, Maria, named for the Blessed Mother. And we went to Fatima, and I put her picture in that pedestal that they have there at the shrine and thanked the Blessed Mother.
Wow.
For her.
Kathy, I have to tell you, I'm a mess. I can't even speak. I'm just welling up with tears.
I didn't know if I would even be able to get through it.
I know.
I'd cry every time. I mean, I'm still like,
yeah, but
I
look
don't
at,
know.
but
I
Kathy,
just feel him with me all the time. He's the guy I pray to all the time.
Well, sure, he's your go-to saint. Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
Right.
But Kathy, look at all the look at the domino effect. Look at the situations that happened. All the pieces.
The doctor at the Cleveland Clinic who didn't think I'd ever have children, he's just like, I don't know what you have, but I want to package it for my other patients who can't, who are having such difficulty. And I said, you got to pray to the Lord. You got to pray to the Blessed Mother. I go, it's called faith.
Exactly. Faith. Amen to that. That's exactly what it is. And they have no explanation for that because it's all God.
No, but he said he was going to write a book and he was going to put me in it. So I don't know if he ever did.
Well, Kathy, I mean, I'm sure both your children, they know these stories, and they probably are. I mean, to think that a saint blessed your child in the womb. I mean, that is incredible. That's amazing. That's an encounter that, only people can dream about. And it happened to you. So how much God loves you, and he saw what you were going through, and he wanted to bring you that comfort. And look what he did. He enabled that encounter through that nun, through the fact that you passed out and you got lightheaded and, you had to be moved over there, and all these little pieces all added up to God wanting to show himself, to manifest himself to Kathy, who wanted to have this baby so badly. And how beautiful that you honored St. John Paul II with your daughter Carol. I think that is beautiful, and you're just blessed. And I hope you don't let the doctor just write your story. I hope you write your story, especially for your family, the legacy of your family, and when you have grandchildren come and your family continues to grow. I hope you write it down so they can understand how precious God was during the times when we were most fragile. Jerry, when you're trying to have a baby and you want this baby so badly, you're in a very vulnerable state. You really are grasping and relying on your faith and your trust in God. And so it took a lot. And and God met Kathy in a beautiful way through John Paul II. Wow. And Jerry, you and I both love JP too. So yeah, this is beautiful.
He was and remains, of course, a hero of mine, and I pray to him every morning as part of my morning prayers. So thank you so much, Kathy. Beautiful story, beautiful heart. Thanks for sharing it with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Barbara, you're going to be next. I just quickly have to mention churchpop.com. It's a service of EWTN. They have articles, they have lists, they have games, they have quizzes, they have funny stuff, they have humor, they have serious stuff. And there's even an article there right now today on how Mother Angelica's spectacular Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament has been featured in an inspiring short documentary. So if you go to churchpop.com, you can get details about that and so much more. There's actually Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, gave a stunning address to college students. What did he say? Well, he didn't hold back. Let me put it that way. So you got to go to churchpop.com and you can sign up for their free emails every day. Okay, Barbara, we give a Patience Award, and we're going to give you a double award today in Cleveland, listening on the Rock, because you've been so very, very patient. God bless you for that, Barbara, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi.
Hi, Barbara.
I guess I have sort of the opposite situation as your previous caller, where she struggled with fertility. I was always have been extremely fertile, and I had 3 babies right in a row, 1, 2, 3, 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 1-year-old, and then I got pregnant with my 4th. And during his delivery, I almost died. There was a freak medical emergency that I had, and I had to have major surgery. I was in the hospital for a week and was advised to not have any more children. Despite them not knowing what had happened, they just said this was a freak thing. No more children. My family was terrified. I had these little kids. No more children. You have enough. You have a big, beautiful family. And So I kind of made peace. That was my last child, and we did natural family planning to not have any more children, and I consciously did not take birth control, much to my gynecologist and obstetrician's horror. I would not take it because of my Catholic faith, and thought, I'm going to leave this up to God and try not to have any more children based on our knowledge here. And I got pregnant again. And my obstetrician, the first thing she said when I called her crying that I was pregnant was, do you want to terminate it? And I said no. And she says, well, she recommended that. My friends recommended that. My family recommended that I terminate this pregnancy, and I did not. And of course, I was terrified the whole time, but I really had a faith that this baby was part of God's plan. Whatever was going to happen to me or to the baby, this baby was here already, and I was going to see it through. So baby was born, healthy. The delivery was perfect, and he just turned 8, and he's just the most wonderful addition to our family. I can't imagine our family without him. And I went on to have 3 more children after him, no complications ever with any pregnancy or delivery after that. And I'm just very grateful that our family was not truncated by the worldly advice, and that we have this very large, great family now. My kids are all real close in age and all healthy, and I'm just really grateful for that. And for the Catholic faith for allowing me to continue having children, trusting in God to go through with that pregnancy, and it was fine.
Yeah, Barbara, this is, I am so deeply inspired by your faith. And I think there's no question that there are, women who are faced with the circumstances that you were and getting the advice that you did from your doctors, the unfortunate advice. And this is not to be critical of them or anything, but it's certainly the wrong advice. Obviously, the artificial contraception part, and then, of course, the termination of the pregnancy. We call it abortion, of course. But thank God you had the grace and the faith and the courage, and there had to be fear woven into that as well. There had to be, because of the uncertainty. You're getting this information from your doctors, and yet you're thinking, I have to go against that advice and sort of trust what I don't see right now, and that is the invisible but very powerful grace of God. So that act of trust on your part, and of course that involved your husband as well, and probably all of your family. And thanks be to God for the way it has turned out. And you had the additional kids as well, and they're all happy and healthy. And I think, Debbie, it's a great lesson for all of us in trusting, especially. I mean, we're talking today about commitments that we make and following through with them. Well, there is no greater commitment than, if life is conceived, there is no greater commitment than to that life and seeing it through. And Barbara and her family did that. I'm just totally inspired by this.
Oh, I am as well. Barbara, that is an incredible story. But, the prevailing theme, I think, for this discussion this hour is really the to trust in God that He has a bigger plan. And if we cooperate with, going along with His will, magnificent things happen. And look what happened. Not you just didn't have that beautiful baby boy who's now 8 years old. You had more children to come. So it is truly incredible when we trust, when we fully trust. And going back to this vulnerable, fragile state, Jerry, we're all going to be in that position, one way or another in our lifetime, where we have to trust what we don't see, but we know that God is faithful to us. And so, Barbara, you did that, and thank you for having that strength, because it's hard, especially when you have family members around you encouraging you to go another way. I mean, it's very easy to go along with that. So I just wanted to say, you have a very strong, deep faith and a very unwavering strength. And I love that about you, Barbara. So I just wanted to see if you had anything else to share, but I just wanted to share my comments and just say, praise God that it turned out so beautiful in your family.
Yeah, no, the only other comments would be that all the people telling me to terminate the pregnancy were doing it out of love. They didn't want me to leave my other children without a mom. They didn't want my husband widowed. They didn't want me to die. And it was it just had to be one greater love, I guess, for God's commandments, that I wasn't going to do it. And
right.
it was very scary, and and it wasn't easy, and I was terrified the entire time, despite my faith in God. I was very scared.
Right.
I thought I was going to die, and post-traumatic stress syndrome and all that from the previous delivery. But that just sticks out in my life as if it's okay to, trusting him in that moment resulted in just the best thing that could have ever happened to our family. And so it's been so much easier to trust him in future smaller things in my life.
Right.
Oh, no kidding. I can only imagine. Yeah.
But
Thanks,
real
Barbara.
quickly, though, thank you, Barbara, so very much. But real quickly, see, what Barbara said, I think, was key, Jerry. Of course, people who care about us are going to say things out of love, but it's also mixed with fear, and fear is not of God. Okay, so because the fear of they were fearful that they were going to lose their Barbara. Well, of course, and so, but that's not of God. See, so that when we reject the fear and we turn our eyes on fix them on God, then miraculous things can happen, like in Barbara's situation. I thought that was an amazing story, Jerry.
Yeah, and what does the Bible say? Perfect love casts out all fear. And, what comes to my mind is St. Gianna Beretta Mola.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, you're probably familiar with her story. She was told she either had to terminate her pregnancy or she would lose her life, and she did lose her life after delivering her child. So God bless you, Barbara. We're going to keep praying that family remains happy, healthy, and especially holy. We're going to get to Ben in beautiful DeBary, Florida, listening on the Amazon Echo. Hey, Ben, we've got 2 minutes for you, so hope that's enough time for you to get your thought out on this. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to talk to hopefully there's some men out there listening that I didn't want to do Christ Renews His Parish. That was I was invited to, and it really did change my life. Me and my wife and my daughter had moved to Florida. We didn't really know anyone, and not only did Christ Renew its Parish bring us closer to God, but it also brought us closer to the church. We got to actually know members of the church. We really didn't have any family there, and they became our family. Fast forward a bunch of years later, and me and my wife are in the diaconate program here in Orlando, which is just an incredible program, and we're just so blessed to be part of it. And it was just a completely, life-changing experience for us. It brought us closer to God. It brought us closer to each other. So, I really do, if any men out there, because they seem to be the hardest one to get involved in this, have that available to them, they should definitely go.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for getting on the show and sharing that. And I hope that you see what I'm seeing. Of course, I travel around the country a lot for work, but I'm seeing men rising up today and going through the CHIRP, Christ Renews His Parish weekends. And I know in the Fort Wayne and South Bend, Indiana areas, there's Rekindle the Fire, which has grown out of that. I don't know if that has spread elsewhere around the country or not, but we're seeing men's conferences and things like this. God bless the ladies, Ben. As you know, they've been holding down the fort, keeping the home fires burning in the church for a long time, and I think this is really a new era that we're entering into. Debbie, you see this too, and it's very inspiring to hear Ben, having this experience and how it has blessed his family.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Ben. Thank you for encouraging the men, and keep us posted on your journey. We'd love to journey with you if you would do that. And thank you so much for taking the time and calling in and just giving a shout out to Christ Renews His Parish. It's a wonderful, wonderful retreat. I think everybody should attend it. And it's very easy to do. It's an easy retreat. It doesn't take out too much of time, and it's really a life-changing experience. Thank you, Ben. God bless you. Jerry, can I just say something before tomorrow's show? Because we're going to hurry. We're just a little over 2 weeks away, and we're closing the registration for Stand Tall. Could you please share with our listeners why they should go to jerryanddebbie.com?
Well, yeah, we want to have this opportunity to come together and just realize, no matter what's happened in our past, no matter what we've done, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, all of that, we are children, beloved sons and daughters of God, and we can stand tall, not prideful, but be proud of who God made us to be, and then go out and make a difference in the world. So go to jerryanddebbie.com and sign up, or at least get information for the retreat. And tomorrow, Debbie, we've titled the show High School Classes. Yeah, we all attend academic classes. But was your high school divided into social classes? You got the sports players, you got the nerds, you had all of these different classes. We're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.